Hey everybody, welcome back. Thanks for joining us for today's edition of the Alabama Crimson Tide Daily Recruiting Nugget. As always, I'm Tyler Waldrop here with Andrew Bone, and today we're talking about five-star offensive tackle Amarius Mims. He's the #2 prospect in the 2021 class, and he's someone that Bone manages to mention in almost 2 or 3 of these videos every single week.
Yeah, I don't think we've done a daily nugget on Amarius Mims before. Yeah, he's certainly a big time player, big time prospect. Certainly somebody that every school wants to land. I mean, he's the #1 offensive lineman in the country. I mean, he's just a massive human being. 6'7", over 300 pounds, and certainly somebody that Alabama's targeting and wants to add in this class. And you look at some guys are heavily involved in recruiting him. I mean, you got South Sincere, you've got Kyle Flood, Nick Saban. I mean, you have the whole staff, really going after this guy and hoping to land him in this class. I mean, this is a major position of need in terms of offensive line this year, and we've talked about several offensive linemen, and we'll continue to talk. I think Alabama would love to add 5-6 offensive linemen in this class, and the primary focus is offensive tackle. And they've got several guys that they're heavily recruiting, and Amarius Mims, Jason, Tommy Brockermeyer, Terrence Ferguson. Some of the top names that they're heavily recruiting, that they're heavily involved in, and Mims definitely the highest rated one at #2 overall in the country, and has visited Alabama a handful of times. It comes down to Alabama and Tennessee. It's Alabama and Tennessee. Tennessee's involved, but I think it comes down to Alabama and Georgia. Mm-hmm. He's come out and said that that Alabama is his leader. I know he told one site that. I don't know if I believe that. I still think Georgia's probably the team to beat. Got a really good relationship with the coaching staff over there. Now, when Sam Pittman left and became the head coach at Arkansas, left from being the Georgia offensive line coach, really opened up the door for a lot of programs, recruiting these offensive linemen, because Georgia was just handpicking offensive linemen and getting those guys under Sam Pittman. Well, it really opened up the doors when he left, and everybody kind of thought, well, Georgia's going to miss out on Terrence Ferguson. They're going to miss out on Micah Morris. They're going to miss out on Amarius Mims. Well, they got Micah Morris on board. They're still heavily recruiting, Terrence Ferguson and Amarius Mims. And, many people in the state of Georgia feel like those two guys are going to end up going there because Matt Luke, the offensive line coach, has done a really good job. But I still think Alabama's got a good chance to land at least one of these guys out of Georgia, whether it be Amarius Mims or Terrence Ferguson. And it looks like an Alabama-Georgia battle for both of those guys right now. Amarius Mims, grew up an Alabama fan. I mean, he says that he grew up in an Alabama household, grew up cheering for the Crimson Tide, but has just been to Georgia just so many more times than Tuscaloosa. I mean, I think he's been to Athens at least twice as many times as he's been to Tuscaloosa. So I think that's kind of the reason why people feel like Georgia's the team to beat. He's also got a great relationship with the Georgia quarterback commitment, 5-star Brock Vandegrift. Talk all the time, and they've hung out. They've gone fishing. They've tweeted on fishing together. So it's hard for me to imagine him not going to Georgia as of right now. But that being said, Alabama is strongly in the picture. Like I said, Sarkisian, Kyle Flood, all those guys heavily recruiting him. Nick Saban. He's had some FaceTime calls with Nick Saban. So as of right now, he plans on waiting until, I believe, October the 14th.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's his mom's birthday, but I can't remember if that was the case or not. It's that day is special to him for some reason. I just can't remember exactly why. But plans on announcing his decision on October the 14th and go from there. But as of right now, it's an Alabama-Georgia battle, in my opinion. Like I said, are involved. He's going to take a bunch of other visits. I mean, he's got a top 10, like I said, but I think in the end, we see it come down to Alabama and Georgia.
Yeah, and you mentioned, with those 2 offensive linemen in Georgia, is there one that you feel a little more confident about Alabama's chances with right now?
I think a lot's going to depend on who commits first. I've been thinking Terrence Ferguson, T.J. Ferguson. Yeah, I think a lot of people kind of assumed he's an Alabama lean and has been that way for a long time. He's been in Tuscaloosa, several times, and got a good relationship with the coach. But there are some who feel like he's a lean to the bullpen. So Georgia ends up getting his commitment. They have several offensive linemen from last year's recruiting class, especially at the offensive tackle, guys like Tate Ratledge and Roderick Jones. They've got some really good offensive line commitments. They end up, they've got Micah Morris committed right now. If they end up getting Terrence Ferguson, does that potentially impact Amarius Mims, or does Terrence Ferguson decide to wait it out all the way up until maybe close to the signing day? Amarius Mims jumps on board on October 4th. Does that have an impact on Ferguson's recruit? We just don't know. I think the biggest thing with a lot of these guys is just getting them back on campus. A lot of you never know. I mean, you just never know if another program could sneak in and potentially land one of these guys away from Alabama, Georgia. We all think it's an Alabama Georgia battle right now, but once visits kind of resume, does another program sneak in and potentially still? I don't think it happens. I think both of them are an Alabama Georgia battle only. But as we've kind of seen, we saw that last year with Eric Gilbert. Everybody thought Eric Gilbert was Alabama or Georgia, and he ends up. Everybody thought that the day he announced his decision, it was Alabama or Georgia, and he had LSU. So, stuff like that does happen, and we'll continue to monitor it pretty well.
Okay, some great insight from Bone. We'll continue to keep y'all updated on Mims' sort of recruitment process as it plays out. Sounds like we're not going to get anything too major here in the near future with him looking for he's more of a long pitcher guy. But when you're talking about the number 2 prospect in the class, he can take his time and pretty much sign wherever he wants. So, we just want to thank y'all for checking out this video. Please go back and look at our past videos. Bone mentioned a lot of other offensive linemen in today's visit. I guarantee if you go watch any of those videos, he's talking about Mims. You'll probably get just as much Mims information from, half of the other videos that he talks about when he breaks down where all these other guys stand, because Mims is, he's the sort of the big prize in this recruiting class right now, the number 2 prospect. 5-star tackle sitting in Georgia that Alabama's hoping to land. So we'll keep y'all updated. Check out BamaInsider.com for content on the team and content on where these guys are with the recruiting process. And continue to check out the videos as we continue to update y'all. Thanks for joining us.